Biden administration announcing today that Israel has agreed to daily 4-hour pauses in the fighting with Hamas in parts of northern Gaza to allow civilians to escape to the south. The pauses will be announced hours ahead of time. In fact, they've already been going on even before the announcement, with tens of thousands of Gazans on the move, as Israel says Hamas has lost control of northern Gaza. But clearly the hope among U.S. officials is that Israel agreeing to these pauses will in part help facilitate the release of roughly 240 hostages held by Hamas. And it comes as the director of the CIA and the chief of Israel's spy agency, Mossad, met with officials in Qatar to discuss the release of, about 10 to 15 hostages held by Hamas. The terror group apparently wants a full 3-day pause in exchange for that. Of course, that isn't going to happen. But what few, at least in the mainstream media, are focusing on, or even really acknowledging, are the hundreds more de facto American hostages held by Hamas. Americans not allowed to leave Gaza by Hamas. This as Israel catches all of the criticism about the humanitarian effort and getting civilians out, etc. After working for weeks behind the scenes, the State Department was able to get some out. But for the hundreds who are left there's no timeline on when they'll be allowed to leave.
And as of now, we're aware of more than 400 Americans and family members who have been able to depart and sought the support of our embassy team on the ground in Egypt. That leaves a population of about 500 to 600 left when you count family members in there. So we're working to get them all out, obviously. And the reason why changes every day. I mean, as I said before, this is a dynamic situation. Sometimes it's the vetting process. Sometimes it's obstacles, not physical obstacles, but policy obstacles that Hamas might throw up.
Obstacles that Hamas might throw up, preventing as many as 600 Americans from leaving. That's a much bigger hostage situation than is being discussed. Sadly, even the families of some Palestinian Americans who have gotten out want to blame the administration rather than thanking them.
Because they leave behind so many of our loved ones. And we feel like our evacuation is not a win for the Biden administration. The communication from the State Department was very vague, and it did not provide concrete directions in moving forward or any sort of guidance that could be trusted. My mom and sister had to go to the border 5 times, and they were evacuated on their final attempt. That is completely unacceptable, and it's something that as American citizens or as just people in general, we shouldn't have to go through that.
That may be true. It's obviously incredibly chaotic there. But what about the fact that the delays on getting stranded foreign nationals and wounded Palestinian civilians out of Gaza into Egypt were caused by Hamas? U.S. officials revealed that one of the obstacles included, quote, about a third of the wounded Palestinians on the first list were Hamas fighters, and that allowing them to exit Gaza was unacceptable to officials in Egypt, the United States, and Israel. Where's the outrage about that? They're listing Hamas fighters among the civilians who should be treated? Look, these are some of the same people who are calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. There is a reason Hamas is so resistant to letting Americans or hostages leave, because the more hostages are trapped or even die, the more outrage grows, the better it is for Hamas. Joining me now is Joel Rubin. He served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State in the Obama administration. Thanks very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, so is it unfair to call them hostages?
Definitely not, Dan. I'm so glad you're highlighting this. These are people who can't leave. These are people who Hamas wants to have there. If Hamas wanted to let them go, they could be gone tomorrow. There's a list always being prepared. There are interlocutors like Qatar and the government of Egypt talking to Israel, talking, of course, the United States. And so if Hamas really wanted them out, they would go. But no, Hamas wants them there, as you point out. It's an opportunity for Hamas to, again, use human shields, put a little pressure on the United States, and, of course, essentially maintain their kind of control of the situation to try to barter human beings for their own awful purposes.
Why do you think this isn't getting that much attention? I've got my own theories, but I'm curious as to yours as to why this isn't getting more attention.
I mean, it's a really cynical reason, but my assessment of this is quite bluntly that if people were to call out Hamas, that Hamas is holding Palestinian Americans hostage in Gaza, it upends the narrative that Gaza, that Hamas, they're the victims alone in this war, that it's only Israel that's the aggressor. Yeah. And that's a narrative that a lot of critics of Israel can't accept. So they don't want to talk about it. So they bury it. And now we're in a situation where these people are not only being held back by Hamas, but they're being ignored here by the advocates for the Palestinians. And that's a really cynical way. That's a very dark way to view human beings. But I think that's what's going on.
I agree with you. When I listen to some of the family members, like we just heard from, blaming the administration, right? We went 5 times, et cetera, to the Rafah crossing. And the communication wasn't good enough, et cetera. Look, I feel for the families, but I just think that they may be pointing the finger in the wrong place. Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.